The moon is a poetic symbol of love, peace, and calm. The comforting mantra of 1967 Outer Space Mantra Treaty, space is for all mankind. But now wake up to reality, and you will see a race to the moon, a cold war to conquer its base, and a dead romantic era. As we sit in 2026, the moon is ticking the geostrategic time bomb, and it is no longer a canvas for curiosity. The landing on the moon has been made, now the race to set up a permanent base is in full swing. What is happening right now in Washington, Beijing, New Delhi is not a scientific, peaceful research, but a hyper-aggressive race to colonize, weaponize, and monopolize the grounds above. Let me be blunt. We are not just building bases, we are drawing battle lines on a new continent. And because the international community refuses to face this reality, the lunar South Pole is rapidly becoming the most volatile flashpoint for the global conflict that could trigger the next world war. Hi, I'm Shreya and you're watching our global analysis show, The Strategist. Let's get started. While the moon has always been an object of wonders and scientific interest to humanity, lunar exploration began in earliest of 1950s, with the United States and the USSR developing and launching robotic spacecraft. Today we study this very triggering flashpoint that has been ignored for a very long time, the Lunar Flashpoint. According to a report from the Space Foundation published in July, the space economy grew by 8% last year to $546 billion, representing a 91% increase over the past decade. The moon is not just a pie that will be divided amongst countries peacefully, but a pie that could trigger a fight for. While 8 nations and space agencies have reached the moon through various orbiters and impact missions today, every country is targeting the hyper-specific, permanently shadowed craters. But why? The answer is because of an absolute resource bottleneck: water ice. In the brutal world of dominant powers, the water isn't just a basic human need, but a raw, unrestricted ammunition of deep space domain. When you split water into hydrogen and oxygen, you get rocket propellant. Because the moon has a mere 1/6 of Earth's gravity, launching a spacecraft from its surface requires almost no energy compared to escaping Earth's massive gravity well. The moon is the ultimate cosmic fueling station. The nation that claims the ice-rich crater gains an absolute monopoly over the gateway to Mars, the asteroid belt, and an industrial economy worth trillions. But here is where the tragedy begins. These resources zones are geographically microscopic. They are the choke points. Under the Outer Space Treaty, you cannot claim sovereignty over lunar land. But there is a massive, terrifying legal loophole. The law does not prohibit exclusive infrastructure operation. If China places its lander on the lip of the crater first and establishes a safety zone to protect its equipment, the United States is effectively locked out. It is a winner-take-it-all land grab disguised as engineering. We will then see terrestrial resources conflict onto a barren rock where there is no boundary, no police, or no rules to hold us back. To understand the depth of the situation, we must look at the sheer gravita of the conflict. Let's look at the money being invested in the lunar flashpoint. Global space tracking firm Nova Space notes that global public space spending has reached an all-time record of roughly $137 billion. But the division of this capital reveals a dangerous imbalance. The United States is currently spending far more than any other nations on Earth, aggressively funding its lunar ambition. In January 2026, Congress passed NASA's fiscal year budget at a staggering $24.4 billion, firmly rejecting deep proposed cuts to protect the core infrastructures of the Artemis program. On top of that, Congress just greenlit an additional $10 billion specifically earmarked for the Artemis campaign, pushing total US commitments for this lunar return past $100 billion milestone. If this can be achieved, then the legacy of Artemis might well be in the realization of the long-held dream of a permanent home in the moon. Or to paraphrase Benjamin Franklin, Artemis is a commitment to humanity's first moon base if you can keep it up. But let's not forget the competitors, and let's not let the numbers deceive you. While China's total state-directed space budget remains classified, some analysts say that it accounts for more than tens and billions of dollars. While the US spends heavily on complex distributed commercial contracts, a 2025 United States-China Economic and Security Review Commission hearing revealed that China is gaining immense results through centralized uninterrupted state planning and military-civil fusions. Beijing has channelized intensive capital directly into its commercial launch sector, now consisting of over 20 state-supported companies rapidly building reusable methane-fueled heavy lift system like the Long March 10 to put boots on the moon by 2030. They are buying raw capability at a fraction of Western regulatory cost. China is also considering building a nuclear plant on the moon to power the International Lunar Research Station in collaboration with Russia, as a 2025 article in Reuters claimed. China aims to become a major space power and land astronauts on the moon by 2030, and its planned Chang'e 8 mission in 2028 would lay the groundwork for constructing a permanent manned lunar base. Russia's space agency Roscosmos said last year it planned to build a nuclear reactor on the moon's surface with China's National Space Administration by 2035 to power the ILRS. The inclusion of the nuclear power unit in a Chinese space official presentation at a conference for officials from 17 countries and international organizations that make up the ILRS suggests Beijing supports the idea, although it has never formally announced it. Now, this isn't a friendly competition anymore. In the Western Hemisphere, you have the US-led Artemis program. Washington is moving with a desperate urgency, throwing its multi-billion dollars budget and the terrifying manufacturing speed of private titans like SpaceX into the fray with a mission to reestablish America's dominance before the decade ends. While on the other hand, there is Beijing. China's International Lunar Research Station, partnered with a desperate but space-hardened Russia, is moving towards chilling monolithic precision. Beijing doesn't have to deal with the messy political gridlock of Western democracies. The timelines do not change when a new president is elected. And also, they have achieved what Washington hasn't: landing on the hostile far side of the moon and extracting pristine samples. They are building an architecture designed for long-term endurance, aiming for a fully operational base by the 2030s. But wait, if you think this is just a two-player game, you are miscalculating the geopolitical chessboard. The wild card in this looming crisis is New Delhi. In August 2023, India did what richest nations of the earth failed to do. They successfully soft-landed Chandrayaan-3 right in the crosshairs of the conflict of the lunar South Pole. And they did it with an asymmetrical weapon that has terrified its competitor. That is the radical cost efficiency. ISRO executed a masterclass landing by just 615 crore, roughly 75 million US dollars. It is peanuts in the defense world. India has proved that you don't need $100 billion to capture the gates of the lunar economy. By doing so, India has violently disrupted the balance of power, firmly cementing itself as the world's third lunar superpower. But let's be entirely real about the danger India faces. India currently has a glaring high-risk gap. It lacks independent human spaceflight and the super heavy lift launch vehicles required to move massive infrastructure. The upcoming Gaganyaan missions are a desperate race to fix this. But currently, India is formally part of the Artemis collaboration since June 21, 2023. By becoming the 27th signatory of the NASA Artemis Accord, this agreement establishes a shared framework for transparent, peaceful, and cooperative lunar exploration. While India is not directly participating in NASA's crewed lunar mission, the partnership facilitates extensive data sharing and interoperability for upcoming India projects like Chandrayaan-4. But now coming to why Moon is also a pivotal point of importance for the armies. It is because something called the cislunar space superiority. From cislunar space, the massive orbital corridor between the world and the moon, a nation can achieve an absolute space situational awareness. You can intercept communication, blind early warning radar, and project force with devastating uninterceptable speed. If an armed conflict breaks out in Earth, the nation with a military observation post on the moon can blind its enemies in a matter of seconds. The moon is no longer just a destination. It is the ultimate strategic fortress, hence no one is willing to let go of this opportunity. The space race of 1960s was an ideological sprint. In 2026, Race to the Moon is an existential scramble for survival, resource, and military absolute dominance. The infrastructure we build on Moon over the next decade will either be the foundation of the future or the base for the mutual destruction. The clock is ticking and the launch pads are active, and the high ground is up for grabs. While Reddit believes NASA is going to grab the trophy first, what do you think? Do let us know in the comments. Until then, I'm Shreya signing off. Thank you for watching National Defense.